Hello, everybody, and thank you for coming back to CopyCat Garage. I don't have a protein shake in my hand or a very yummy yogurt or anything like that, so today we're going to start off food-free. Today we are going to look at what I need to do in fabrication. So we're going to do a lot of cutting cardboard and making things to get an idea of space. What do I mean by mocking things up and kind of looking at the space? Well, for this particular project, as you know from last week's episode, I have all this stuff here. I've got this head unit that we're going to be putting in here up by where traditionally the gas tank is going to be, and this is traditional as well. I'm going to have a gas tank. In fact, here is a picture of the gas tank I want to get from Lowbrow. It is a double tank, so it's 5-gallon tank with 2.5 gallons on each side, and it's basically designed to be 2 separate tanks. So I figured what I'd do is I would then create a space right down the middle, kind of like the Death Star for you Star Wars people. So I'll have this area right down the middle that will encapsulate, if you will, all my electronics and things. So we're getting electronics out of this area, which is typically underneath the seat on this particular motorcycle, bringing them forward on top of or in between those 2 tanks. So up at the top, if you look again at that picture that I have of the tank that I want to use, the very, very top is typically where the speedometer is going to be. And I'm going to have a speedometer, but it's going to be a little bit smaller. So this will be in kind of that spot. So if you were the rider and I'm the handlebars, if you will, that's where this head unit will be. And then they'll have that channel where the amp is going to go, and this other item that I want to get, which doesn't look like this, it's not square, it's an actual board maybe halfway that has these little areas that you can actually put wire in to control the different types of services that you're going to have on your motorcycle. And this is called a MotoGadget Blue. This is the actual footprint, if you will, and how high it is at the top of its connectors. So I mocked that up so that we can have some physical idea of size. And hopefully I can get one of those here soon. I'll have some prices and things like that of what this stuff is going to cost, so that you guys have an idea if it's something you want to do on a similar project, where you can get it and how much all this build is going for. So those 3 things, the MotoGadget Blue, the amplifier, the head unit, are all going to reside in this channel. So what I want to do is do a cardboard mock-up to see how narrow I can go with this. Now I don't have the tank with me. I don't have any kind of way of getting really the true dimensions of the tank. That's something that I need to get to do it properly. But if I look at the width there, then within that I can take these cardboard pieces, get some metal, and we can fabricate that, and then have something that we can look at on how we're going to adhere that tank to that channel. So the idea is the channel is going to be mounted to the frame, then the gas tanks are going to then be mounted to that channel, which is going to be exciting because last time I welded, I was in high school and it was oxyacetylene, which leads me to another thing. If any of you are welders or have experience with welding, I'd love to hear from you on some tips and ideas and things like that, and as well as any information you may have on a really good beginner kind of welding setup. I need to purchase one of those too. And I know there's some really good ones out there that are really, really expensive. I just need, again, limited budget. I need something that will get the job done and still be kind of in that affordable range. Anyway, let's get started on fabricating the channel. I'm going to go over here and grab some cardboard real quick.
One eternity later.
All right. Now, again, I'm not a professional welder by any means or fabricator. I really get a lot of inspiration from a couple different people when it comes to fabricating. One's my cousin. I guess you can call him a cousin. He's family, and Jack Daniels. He's fabricating a really cool van that he's working on, and he and his sweetheart are going to be traveling around in this van that they're doing. But he is just, his welds are just as beautiful as welds can be. And then there's Fritz. I believe Fritz is up in Canada. I've been watching him for a long time, and he's doing a lot of really cool things. A link to some of his videos and stuff can be found actually in my playlist of where I get my inspiration from. And man, I wish I could have Fritz here in my garage and show me some things, but I'm gonna have to learn just by watching his videos. But nonetheless, I've seen a lot of times where guys will take cardboard, and that kind of represents their metal. It's a little easier to work with. All you need is some tape, a knife, and cardboard, and you can kind of get it lined up. Now, that's not going to be the width of this channel. That's a pretty big channel. I didn't have to go out and break the bank by buying a bunch of cardboard, just using something I got in the mail or Prime. But if I look at it, we can look at how wide these things are, and I can kind of get an idea of where things are going to be. So if I use this as an example, and I'm kind of thinking that maybe the orientation of the amplifier needs to be this way, because that way would just be ridiculously wide. If these were the two sides of the gas, each gas tank on each side, if we can go about this wide like that, and maybe this wide like that, then we can probably go with this wide up. Well, this is the bracket. See those two screw points right there? This goes like that. And if you notice all these little notches, this is where you can either break or bend this so that you can mount it inside here. So this will be mounted this way inside this channel, if you will, and then this will be mounted to that. Now, of course, this is going to need to be mounted more on an angle like this, so that as a rider I can see the face of that. So I'm thinking at best this is going to need, or at the smallest, this channel needs to be basically that wide. So if I move this up like this, let's do this. Okay, now this would be mounted in here like this somewhere. Okay, the head unit will be on an angle down here like this. I'm wondering, maybe we could put, since the head unit's going to be here and it's going to have all this wire, if we can do something like that inside there, that gives me a little bit more room to then put, where I put it, my Moto Gadget M unit like this. Now if you'll notice on here, And I'll pull up a picture of this diagram. But you have these two ground spots that this will be has to be grounded to the frame, and the battery comes in this way. So maybe if I have this end facing towards the back, towards the rider, because that'll be a less amount of space I need to go, or distance I need to go to the battery up to here. And then these wires are what go to all the various things it's going to feed off of. And once I get my Moto Gadget M unit and have a chance to present the wiring diagram that I made, hopefully I can get a hold of them and they can take a look at it and tell me if it makes sense or if it looks like it'll work. If that's successful at that, then I'll go into a bigger, deeper dive on what makes this Moto Unit Blue so cool. There are a lot of really cool features that will modernize, if you will, this bike, and yet still be in such a compact package that I can still keep that Bobber-esque type of look of being stripped down, because everything else is hidden in a really small area. But anyways, let's take a look at this footprint. So this is kind of the footprint I'm thinking we're going to use for the width of this channel. Now, straddle the bike here. This would probably go up here, something like this, maybe even down. I might even make it longer, because if you see this hole, or this area right here, there's a little hole. I'm going to drill it out a little wider so that I can use this backbone to run wire through. And here's another hole right up underneath the very top. I'll make that bigger. And so wires for the headlight, wires for the speakers either side, wires for controls on the handlebars as far as the turn signals and headlights and all that stuff will all be up here. So that's going to go down through here, come up, go to the Moto Gadget, which is right here. Then we'll have some more wires that go down to the battery, which will be up underneath the seat. But I'm thinking that's probably going to be, yeah, I think I'm going to have to get that tank, because that's going to help me really know how far up this way I can go. And also that tank, if you look at the picture, it starts off small down at this end and then it gets bigger as it goes up this area. So that's kind of the plan there. I realize I'm going to need to get some parts, particularly the tank. It would be nice to be able to get the battery and get the Moto Gadget. It's cost prohibitive right now, so hopefully we'll save up some money for it. As soon as I get them in, we can start fiddling with it a little bit more. But primarily the first thing I can use those mock-ups right now until then. But what I really need to get is that tank, because that tank is going to decide how wide I can go, how high I can go with this channel, and then ways that I can mock up the mounting system to mount it all together. There's some other considerations I think I'm going to need to make when it comes to the Moto Gadget Blue, and that's interference, the electrical pulses that are generated by spark plugs. The solenoid and everything like that sends electrical pulses to the spark plugs, which in turn ignite the fuel to cause that combustion within the pistons, the cylinders, to be able to push the pistons down and thus move your bike. So with those electrical pulses, I may need to come up with some sort of like Faraday system to shield any of those electrical pulses from interfering with the Moto Gadget. And hopefully I'm going to have to reach out to either someone who retails the Moto Gadget or the manufacturer themselves to get some ideas from them, if they're willing to give, that will help me in that installation process. So I think my next goal, besides just kind of figuring this stuff out, is to get this tank. That's about $200 and some tank, and Lowbrow, which I've used before. I bought stuff from them before. I'm really impressed with them. I like their story. They're just down-to-earth people. They do some rides every now and again for their followers and stuff. I'd love to be part of one of their rides. So they're one reason why I want to go with lowbrow to get that tank. Plus I can't find it anywhere else. I'm gonna hopefully get some funds together and get that tank. And then once I have that, we can really start fabricating and looking at how that whole structure is. But I wanted to show with you too, this is a mock-up again. Tape is falling apart everywhere. Anti-gravity has been recommended to me because it's very, very light. Not that I'm really worried about weight on this, but weight helps. And I was told they were smaller, but I mocked up based off of their sizes. And this is the same size as the battery I took out of this, unless they have another one. But the cool thing about this one is it has a restart feature. So if for whatever reason I left the lights on or something electrical and it drains the battery down, it has chips inside here that will regulate the performance of the battery. And when it gets down to like 90%, it turns the battery off. So when I get to the bike and it's like, the battery's off, all I have to do is push the restart button, and it is like having a jump box. It allows me to be able to start the motorcycle up and get home. So that's one reason why I really like this particular restart technology. And so traditionally, this battery goes, or a battery goes right here. There's a whole system that holds it into place, and this is where the battery sits. The cool thing about lithium, other than the battery that came out of it, is that the battery that came out of it, it had to always be in this orientation. With the lithium, it could be like this, it could be like this, it could be any which way, and still be functioning as a battery. So I'm wondering, see if you can look in here real quick, how I've got this piece comes down like this. I'm thinking I might be able to trim. I'm definitely trimming anything of this white stuff. All this stuff is coming out. This little hump here, this is coming out, this is coming out, this is coming out. And I'll be fabricating a new mount here for the seat. This, I'm wondering when I do that, if I'll be able to slide this in here, basically in this orientation, but right in here. And then I can fabricate a whole shield, if you will, instead of using the old ones that came with the bike. I still have those in underneath my bigger bench, or even just reusing those, I don't know. But you can see how that right here is interfering, or this is being interfered by this down part right here. But it would be nice to be able to have this so that this comes in either that way or this way. And if it comes in that way, then that still gives me enough well in here for the woofer to sit right underneath the seat. So this is another spot that's going to have and require a whole lot of fabrication to get that going. So my ambitions is to get an anti-gravity. I'd like to talk to them and see if there is by chance a smaller version of this. I know they have smaller ones, but if they have smaller ones that they think that may be good to be able to start a bike this size, V-twin. But anyway, so that is the plan I have been working on. If you haven't already, of course, every subscription, every thumbs up, every comment, everything like that doesn't cost you anything, and it's a great way to help fund this through YouTube. I am not at the levels yet of being able to receive any kind of funding from ad revenue or monetization, as you probably heard. So what I have had to do is create things like a Patreon page. I've also created a bunch of shirts. Hopefully next time you see me, I'll be wearing one. But I've got a merchandise website that I've created, and it'll have some really cool t-shirts I've got a bunch of t-shirts and odd things that you may be interested in for merch. Of course, all of that is through me, so I benefit through the purchase of those shirts and stickers and posters and mugs and all that other stuff that we have on there. So head over to my merch shop. Description or link is in the description below, as well as all the other links that I have. And again, thank you again for watching. Hopefully you've watched this far, and you'll see me next time. And don't forget, wrench now, brag later.